Liberation Day 2.0 is here, guys. The White House revealing its new tariff plan last night, just hours before the midnight deadline, hiking rates on dozens of countries. Now, one of the highest rates is on our northern neighbor, Canada, with the tariffs there raised to 35%. That as President Trump demands the Canadian government do more to curb the flow of fentanyl across the border. Mark Meredith is at the White House with the details. Mark.
Emily, good afternoon to you. The Canadian Prime Minister says he is disappointed by these new tariffs, and he's not the only world leader reacting after the president issued a slew of new tariff rates impacting many trading partners, Syria, Switzerland, and India also on the list. The Treasury Department is collecting record revenue when it comes to these tariffs, and the White House is also facing questions about its long-term strategy for the job market. The president's tariff rates have rattled the markets, the stock markets, I should say, all down majorly today. But the White House refusing to push the panic button, insisting these tariffs will force companies both big and small to reinvest in U.S. operations.
We couldn't ask for better investments in this country, over $10 trillion. That is going to continue to double down on manufacturers and really putting the American economy first.
The White House says these tariffs are all about resetting decades of, quote, failed trade policy. They point to the recent framework deals reached with the UK, Vietnam, and Thailand to show deals are possible. But Democrats say these tariffs will eventually kill the consumer.
Well, if this is what Liberation Day was supposed to look like, then God help us. Hiring is down, prices are ticking up, families are paying more than $2,400 a year because of these tariffs.
There's another story we're also watching the economy, and that is the president's increased criticism of Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, who Trump appointed to the job during his first term. The president active on social media today, blasting Powell, writing, "Jerome, too late, Powell, a stubborn moron, must substantially lower interest rates now." And he also posted that this is a disaster, drop the rate. The good news is the tariffs are bringing billions of dollars into the U.S. The White House has repeatedly said he has no plan. The president has no plans to fire Powell from this post, but they are still trying some very public and political pressure to get the Fed to lower interest rates by September. Emily?
Yeah, just a little pressure, I think.
Just a little.
All right, guys. So, David, I want to talk about the numbers because I think the forecasting was, frankly, expecting and hoping for some kind of doomsday. But the reality is that President Trump's decisions exceeded all of those grim forecasts by so much. So earnings are so up, revenues up, everything by up to 81% and more. Yeah. So talk to us about those details and why we are seeing such a wonderful rise, exactly as President Trump promised.
Because we're making it cheaper and easier for businesses to do business. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. It's that simple. If you make it easier and cheaper for businesses to do business, you'll have more of it. The problem is that we have a Fed chief who isn't on the same train. And in fact, we saw him this week refuse to lower the rates, even though he knew the Fed has all this advanced information about what's going on in the economy. The stuff that we found out today, that the jobs number was much less than we were hoping for it to be, he knew some of that was going on when he decided not to lower rates. He really seems to be acting a political way. I'm not for firing the Fed chief, but if he doesn't lower rates in September and give this economy a big boost, I don't know. I think all bets are off with him. But the bottom line is that the whole tariff situation is being done very deftly by this president, and the countries are responding. We had this great EU deal a couple of weeks ago, which is just extraordinary. Nobody thought that could be done.
And philosophically, Arthel, this highlights that as all of this growth is coming from the private industry, the private businesses, instead of the government, that exactly hallmarks why the conservative viewpoint is so much better for this country. When you bloat the federal government, that is what drags down the economy and so much. But the reality is, when you deregulate and take the shackles off Americans, then we can just rocket forward. And that's what we're seeing under this administration.
Well, President Trump became famous as a businessman. So when it comes to negotiating, he knows when to put the pedal to the metal and when to let up off the gas, right? So he'll keep that in mind when he's watching how these tariffs will work. So we hope for the best, see where it goes, but the president will be watching.
And Laura, we were just talking about this offline, about the fentanyl coming over the northern border, that the cartels have pivoted because of the southern border tightening up by this president. So talk to us about the impact on Canada and what that all looks like.
Yeah, well, the Canadians have a responsibility here, too. You know, as much as Mexico had a responsibility to work with our country to secure the southern border, Canada, likewise, in the northern border, has the same responsibility. And as you've heard, they're not doing that job. I think we saw 74 pounds of fentanyl this fiscal year, which would kill almost 16 million people, that amount. We can't have that in the United States. Overall, look, everything that this president is doing is strategic. The tariffs have brought in somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 billion for this country. You've seen trade agreements now with multiple countries. I think it will continue, but Canada's got to play ball, and they have to help us with that northern border.
We see a begrudging acceptance and acknowledgement of the success, but there's still a big drag on it. And the